Hi, I'm Mom the Tale Teller, and I tell tales about mythology, folklore, fantasy, and fairy tales. Today's topic is Bluebeard, and it starts in 5. Bluebeard, also known as La Barbe Bleue. French folk tale written by Charles Perrault and first published by Claude Barbet in Paris in 1697, as part of a collection of 8 fairy tales in Histoire ou conte du temps passé, which translates to stories or tales of past times. The story comes from older European folklore, such as the white dove, the robber bridegroom, and Fitcher's bird. The fairy tale Bluebeard is about a wealthy man whose wives had all mysteriously disappeared. It turned out that he had a knack for murdering them. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines Bluebeard as a man who marries and kills one wife after another. The term bluebearding emerged, and it is used to describe the crime of either murdering, seducing, or abandoning women. The character Bluebeard is believed to derive from legends related to historical individuals on Brittany, a region located in the northwestern corner of France. Inspired by Gilles de Rais, a 15th century nobleman who fought alongside Joan of Arc and later became Marshal of France. Although he did not kill his wife, he was later hanged and burned for kidnapping, murdering, torturing, and raping children, as well as for heresy and sorcery. Also inspired by an early Breton king, Connemore the Accursed, who had murdered his wife Tryphine. This account was recorded in the biography Saint Gildas in the 6th century. Henri Désiré Landru was a French serial killer during the First World War and was nicknamed the Bluebeard of Rambach. Some scholars interpret Bluebeard as a fable preaching obedience to wives, that breaking your husband's rules is punishable. Folklorist Maria Tatar suggests that the tale should encourage women to question patriarchal rules. Wilhelm Grimm of the Brothers Grimm called Bluebeard's fairy tale a lust for blood. Looks like you've unlocked the story. Bluebeard modified. And it starts in 5. There once was a very wealthy man whom had fine houses both in town and country, a great deal of silver and gold, as well as beautiful, expensive things. Unfortunately, this man had a frightfully ugly blue beard that kept all the women and girls at a distance. He had a distinguished neighbor who had 2 incredibly beautiful daughters. He asked for the hand of one of them in marriage. Neither could imagine marrying a man with a blue beard. Also, he had been married several times, and all of his wives had mysteriously disappeared. To win their affection, Bluebeard invited all 3 of them, as well as their preferred guests, to one of his homes in the country, where they stayed a whole week. They enjoyed parties of pleasure, fishing, mirth, and feasting. The youngest daughter, whom remains nameless in the tale, began to view him as a mighty civil gentleman, not as a hideous man with a beard so very blue. In returning home, she accepted marriage to Bluebeard. About a month afterwards, Bluebeard was obliged to take an important country journey for the duration of at least 6 weeks. To prevent his wife from becoming lonely, he invited her chosen friends and acquaintances to stay with her until his return. Before leaving, Bluebeard pulled out a ring of keys and explained which key opened what. When he got to the last key, he said, "But as for this little one here, it is the key of the closet, which I forbid you, and forbid it in such a manner that if you happen to open it, there is nothing but what you may expect from my just anger and resentment." His wife promised to obey his orders. He gave her a hug, and off he went. Her chosen visitors, including her sister Anne, couldn't wait to tear through the house to see all the expensive furniture, rooms, closets, and wardrobes. The house exceeded expectations as it was filled with extravagant things. Pressed by her curiosity of what the ground floor chamber beheld, Bluebeard's wife left her company and found her way down a little back staircase to the closet door. She stood there for some time, deciding on whether or not to disobey her husband's orders. With a quivering hand, she took out the little key and unlocked the door. It was quite dark inside, as the windows were shut. As her eyes adjusted to the dark, she realized that the floor was all covered with clotted blood, on which lay the bodies of several dead women ranged against the walls. These would be the previous wives of Bluebeard. In shock, she dropped the keys. She quickly picked them up, left the room, locked the door, and headed up to her chamber to collect herself. She noticed that the key of the closet was stained with blood. She tried to clean the blood off with the key with soap and water, and even tried rubbing the key with sand, but the blood remained. For it was a fairy key, and she could never make it clean. Bluebeard unexpectedly returned from his journey the same evening. The next morning, he asked his wife for the keys. With a trembling hand, she returned them. "What?" he said. "Is not the key of the closet among the rest?"
"I must certainly have left it above upon the table,"
she replied. He told her to go get it and waited. Hesitantly, she brought the key to him. He asked, "How comes this blood upon the key?"
"I don't know,"
she lied.
"I very well know. You were resolved to go into the closet, were you not? Mighty well, madame. You shall go into the closet and take your place among the ladies you saw there."
She fell at his feet, begging his forgiveness and promising never to defy him again. Bluebeard looked her dead in the eye and told her,
"You must die, madame."
She begged, asking,
"Since I must die, give me some little time to say my prayers."
He gave her half a quarter of an hour, but not a moment longer. He left her in their chamber and waited for her in the closet downstairs, with a scimitar in hand. A scimitar is a large curved butcher's knife with a long blade used for slicing large cuts of meat, making it ideal for uniform, clean slices of beef, pork, poultry, and in this case, disobedient wives. His wife called up to her sister Anne, whom had been upon the top of the tower, asking if her brothers were on their way. Anne answered, "I see nothing but the sun, which makes a dust, and the grass which looks green." Bluebeard began calling his wife to come downstairs instantly, or he would come up to her. She pleaded for a moment longer. She quietly called up to her sister again, asking if anyone was coming. Anne replied the same thing.
"Come down at once," Bluebeard demanded.
"I am coming,"
answered his wife. Again, she cried out to Anne,
"Is anyone coming?"
Anne replied,
"I see 2 horsemen coming."
her brothers were on the way. Bluebeard called one last time. This time it was so loud that the house shook. Anne realized something was dreadfully wrong and waved down her brothers with urgency. Bluebeard's wife proceeded downstairs and threw herself at his feet, sobbing. As Bluebeard was about to behead his wife, he heard loud knocking at the gate. He knew this was his wife's brothers. He took off up the stairs and tried to save himself, but the brothers caught him and left him dead. His wife inherited his estate, With this great wealth, she helped marry her sister Anne, bought captain's commission for her brothers, and was remarried to a very worthy gentleman. The end. Or as the French say, fin. In some versions of the story, Anne and her sister kill Bluebeard. In conclusion, Albert Einstein once said, "If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." He believed that fantasy and imagination stimulate intellectual curiosity, creating the ability to think outside the box, nurturing the scientist within. That's my takeaway from this. What's yours? I hope this was fun, informative, and entertaining. If you'd like to hear more tales like this, let me know in the comments. Until then, tale you later.